Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome to some more StarCraft 2. Today we're gonna be having a look at a game that I played a couple of days ago, and in this one I'm gonna be trying to explain a build that I've been doing quite a lot, and that honestly pretty much every single Zerg player has been doing a lot, but I still get quite a couple of questions about this almost on a daily basis. So what I'm gonna be doing in this game is a 2-base muta type play, where I play very aggressive with Zerglings as soon as I finish up all of the upgrades, and you'll find out during this game. Now, I do want to go over the build order in this video, however, I'm not going to be giving you the exact numbers, because honestly, for the most part, whenever you play these type of build orders, the Terran is going to mess with you, right? They're going to do something that will make you, have to respond to what is going on in the game, and for the most part, honestly, with how like high level StarCraft 2 is lately, build orders are not like super important. It doesn't really matter if you go for a 15 pool or a 14 pool, or, get your gases at 5 minutes exactly, or you get your 5 minutes and 10 seconds, guys. It doesn't really matter all too much, and it's more important that you understand the reasoning behind certain moves and that you can try and execute the thought process behind it. So the general idea of this build order is to play as greedy as possible off of 2 bases and get pretty much exclusively drones. What we're gonna try and do is make as many drones as we possibly can without dying, and I know this is something I used to say a lot more, but honestly, once you figure out as Zerg how to make as many drones as you possibly can without dying, you will easily become Master League. I'm pretty sure that's gonna be really all it takes. But anyways, so the first thing we do want to go for is a hatchery first. I'm getting this one on the low ground at the 15 supply mark, and I'm gonna be following this up with a gas geyser and then a spawning pool. Now another option would be to get the spawning pool first and then get the gas geyser, but like I mentioned, either way it doesn't really matter too much. You want to make sure that you understand the thought process behind it. So the goal for this build is to get the max saturation off of 2 bases, go for a Lair, get the Spire going, get the Baneling Nest, and then get the Evo Chambers as well. And eventually, you will be able to get out Mutalisks that will stop any kind of Hellbat shenanigans. For the most part, there's a lot of Terran players doing like Hellbat all-ins, and obviously in Legacy of the Void, you also see Liberator all-ins, and this build is great versus all those kind of things. And honestly, I would consider this probably the most safe all-round build order in Zerg vs Terran. Other option would be to go for a faster 3rd base, but that is basically changing the entire concept of it. So if you're not certain what the Terran player is going for, or you're playing on a map like this, where the 3rd base is relatively difficult to take, you should definitely consider going for this build. So as you can see, I went for a 15 hatch. I think there was a 16 gas geyser into a 15 spawning pool, and I'm gonna follow this up with 3 queens in total. You can go for 4 queens, you can go for 2 queens, you can go for 6 queens if you want to. Once again, it's all about the concept. So I'm starting up my double queens almost immediately. You do want to make sure that you have 1 queen per base ready to go, and it looks like I have found where my opponent has spawned with one of my overlords. So I'm getting my Zergling Speed going right now, and important to note is that I do pull the drones out of the gas geyser. I leave 1 in there. Another variation would be pull out of it, all of them out of there, or you just leave them all in, or you leave 1 out of, you get the idea. I'm going to be pulling 2 drones out of the gas guys. The reason for that is because I want to be making as many drones as possible. My goal is to basically make only like 2 Zerglings. I think I made 2 right there in total. And that's going to be my only Zerglings that I really want to be creating for the time being. I want to drone up completely from here on out. So hitting both of the queen injects immediately. I'm going for another queen right there in the main base, but pulling both of the queens that I have to the low ground. And I'm mostly using these Zerglings right here to try and figure out what is going on. So I see a bunker right there. Seeing a bunker this time in the game basically means he does have a natural up. So I know for a fact that if my opponent wants to go for any kind of Hellions, I am not gonna expect those until right around 44 supply-ish, 6 minutes-ish at the very earliest. So for the moment, I can definitely be spending all of these larvae on drones. And that's exactly what I'm doing right here. Just adding on more and more drones. Now, in more of like an old school build, and by the way, I am adding in the gas, or the extra gases right now, and I'm also putting the drones back into it. But in the good old days, you would take your 3rd base right around right now, but since there's a lot of Hellbat aggression going on right now in Legacy of the Void, and in Heart of the Swarm as well, it's a little safer to just simply, spend a little bit more on getting some extra units going. So I did end up going for the double gases right there in the main base. I am going to be starting up my my Lair as well, and I'm just going to try and make sure that I squeeze out as many drones as possible. Actually, making one of my overlords a little bit too late. So I went for the Zergling Speed, pulled the drones out of gas for a little while until I hit near max saturation. Then I added on the drones and an extra gas geyser once again, put the drones back into the gas. And then I went for the Lair, immediately followed up with the Baneling Nest. So as you can see, if my opponent would go for any kind of aggression, I would be in pretty much the safest scenario ever. I've got a couple of Zerglings. These are absolutely crucial. This Zergling right here is absolutely crucial to know what is going on. Got another Overlord spotting incoming drops right here. Also very, very important. And one more to see if like a dropship is trying to sneak out. So while you may notice that I have basically been making exclusively drones, it's all been because of me knowing pretty much exactly what is going on. And right now, eventually, I am gonna be going for the third base. Now, the Lair is already done at the 7-minute mark in Heart of the Swarm, or Legacy of the Void would obviously be a couple minutes earlier. And I'm gonna be putting down the Spire immediately. Now that I have let me pause it just for a second though. Now that I have full saturation, right? So if you have a look, I got 16 workers, or 15 workers in this case. On minerals in the main base. Got the 4 gas geysers going on right now, and I got 17 workers in the main base actually on minerals right here, so I should really be moving one around. But the point that I'm trying to make is that I got my max saturation going, I went for the Lair, I got the third base going up right now, and I cannot be making any more drones right now really that I can effectively use. If I want to make drones right now, I'm not gonna really use them until this third base is done, which I only just now started. So after hitting the max saturation and getting the queens that I want and hitting some creep spread and doing this little bit of scouting, while I'm waiting for my third base to finish up, I'm gonna start non-stop Zerglings. And this is where the aggressive part really happens. As you can see, I didn't really go for any kind of Evo chambers, just really got a Baneling Nest right here. But I'm gonna try and make as many Zerglings as I possibly can, for 2 reasons. First off, I know that my opponent will be pushing out very shortly. If it's a Stimpack timing, if it's like a Hellion timing, if it's a Hellbite push, I'm gonna need those Zerglings. But also, if my opponent decides to go for an expansion, I'm expecting he's gonna land that third command center at the third base right between 9 and 11 minutes. That seems to be sort of like the normal timer. So what I'm doing right now is just making non-stop Zerglings to figure out what my opponent is doing and to basically counter whatever he is going for. Let's say he wants to go for an expansion, I counter that. Let's say he wants to go for aggression, I counter that. So keep in mind, full saturation on drones first. I only made 2 Zerglings up to this point, and now that I've have my full saturation going up and I got my third base coming in, as well as my Spire, I'm gonna be, you know, saving up as much gas as possible, but I'm mostly gonna be making Zerglings because I got all the drones that I need for the time being. So hopefully that is clear right there. Make drones, okay? That's what I'm trying to say. Just pushing my creep forward a little bit, seeing if I can do a little bit of damage, cancelling that 1 creep tumor right there because my opponent was moving in with Hellions. But one thing that I do notice right here is that my opponent seems to be extremely late on those Hellions. I'm not 100% certain what he is doing right now, so whatever happens, I'm gonna be safe with just making non-stop units here. Having 18 Zerglings right now on the production tab, could be going for the extra upgrade for the speed on my Banelings as well, the fact that they can become roly-polies. But if I can get a surround right here on these Hellions, that would be absolutely enormous. Trying to set up the surround right here, making sure that my opponent doesn't get to my third base, but not gonna be able to pull it off, at least for the time being. So notice right here, trying to not spend all of my minerals and not spend all of my gas either, just waiting to be able to make Mutalisk right now. Now, after my mutas are made, I do want to go for the +1/+1, and I also want to be going for the Baneling Speed as well. But just notice that there is once again a variation that you can go for. Some players like to go for faster upgrades, and in some games it may be a little bit better to do exactly that. So Spire just now finished up, should be making a heck of a lot of mutas. I only get to make 3 right here, because I don't have larva. Smart enough, I actually didn't save up any larva for it. But I'm gonna be starting up my double evolution chamber right now, and I'm just gonna be making more and more Mutalisks as soon as the larva do become available. And I got my third base finished up right now. Now, I have a few options. I could either be droning up my third base right now, which is actually a very good position, or because I've not seen my opponent really do much of anything, I can predict that my opponent is gonna go for a third base. Right? Like, I'm assuming right now, okay, he's been doing something. I got 2 Zerglings spotting the potential third bases, and that is really the reason why I'm primarily still making units. I'm gonna start adding on some drones for this third base as well, but I'm thinking my opponent is gonna land that third base very shortly. So for the time being, I am making many units. I do want to start up the +1/+1 very shortly as well, but I'm just using my Mutalisk to stop any kind of dropships from coming in, and if I could snipe one right now, that would pretty much be game over. But notice that the mutas came out extremely early. So right now, okay, I immediately see that my opponent did go for the third base. He's gonna start morphing in, or I'm gonna start morphing in a couple of Hellions as well, but I'm just gonna start doing as much damage as I possibly can. Obviously, the Mutalisks are gonna be absolutely incredible right here. He does manage to get a couple Widow Mines. I did forget to take my Or well, I didn't actually even make one. I didn't make any overseers in this game. I'm just using a couple. Or a couple of Zerglings to try and trigger the Widow Mines instead. But I'm just making non-stop army right now. I know that my opponent is not gonna have a massive economy. And I think that I could even be potentially killing him right now. Now, I did go for the roly-poly upgrades on the Banelings, and it is actually just about to finish up. Got a reasonable amount of saturation for this third base, but for the most part, I just want to deny my opponent from going for a third base. And obviously, this is where the game is completely, or where the strategy is completely dependent on what your game is all about, right? Like, in most games, you may be deciding to drone up right here. In this specific scenario, I feel pretty good about playing as aggressive as possible, losing a heck of a lot of Zerglings right there, but, you know, just making sure that I clean up most of these medevacts and just play super aggressive, and that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm just gonna make non-stop units right now and ensuring myself that I get a massive amount of stuff. Chasing down these 2 medevacts is absolutely enormous as well. And, you know, just having more and more units come in will basically guarantee me the victory. But I hopefully explained the thought process behind this build order, so keep in mind, this is not like a super strict build where you have to get like, you know, building X at timing number Y or whatever, right? You just want to make sure that you use your... those confettis, by the way, but you'd want to make sure that you use the drone timings that you have and the queen injects and whatnot to your advantage, so, you know, you will be able to make a crazy amount of units right here and even start flooding in a bunch of minerals when you really shouldn't be having that, Lowko. Looks like I actually missed the queen inject right there on my queens, which is not good. I actually missed a bunch of these. Ugh. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed these type of videos. I have no idea if anyone is really interested in these type of videos because they're relatively high level. But if you are interested in hearing more of me talk about random stuff like this and maybe like more build order focused things, let me know down below in the comment section, because I would really love to hear your feedback on these sort of videos. Other than that, if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button as well. And also, if you want to see more, hit the subscribe button so you will get a notification when I upload another video. I want to thank you guys all for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile. And I'll see you in the next one.